in every new baseball season, you can't tell the players without a scorecard, especially here in St. Louis and, of course, back home in Chicago. Lots of new faces for the Cubs and Cardinals today. They'll greet each other again. It's the series finale. The Cubs trying to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Redbirds. Third and final game from a big crowd here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Hello again, everybody, with Steve Stone. Chip Carey, welcome back to Cubs baseball and a partner. Not much positive you can take out of the game last night. The Cardinals thumped us very badly, and everywhere around town in Chicago, everywhere in the papers, you're reading it's not time to panic. It isn't time to panic. The season only 4 games old now for the Cubs, but there are an awful lot of things that do have to concern you. This team is not playing good baseball at all right now early in the season.
One of the things you have to worry about is the guys in the middle. When they're not hitting, you're not going to generate many runs, and Sammy and Henry really haven't broken out yet. So hopefully for Sammy, who always has mediocre Aprils, the warm weather will be a godsend for him. As far as Henry is concerned, he's working on that stroke. And if these guys get hot together, then the team is going to generate runs, Chip. But when you look at the numbers, you realize why the Cubs are 1-3.
Very.
Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Aflac.
Well, a bit of a gray day today in St. Louis at Busch Stadium for the series finale between the Cubs and the Cardinals. Steve Stone, Chip Carey back with you again on Fox Sports Net Chicago. The Cardinals, Stoney, beat us in a big way last night, 10-4, beat us 7-1 in the first game of the set, and they've done all this damage without Mark McGwire, but we don't have that luxury anymore. For Big Mac's back, and he's back in the lineup this afternoon.
Well, he didn't look like he was really extending himself in batting practice before the game. Now, he took some healthy swings, and he's enormously strong, as you know, but he didn't really attack the ball like he usually does. And when he's in the lineup, it more than makes up for Edgar Renteria not being in the lineup, as Placido Polanco will take over at shortstop. But another thing to remember, Chip, the Cubs have got to start getting some innings out of their starting pitchers, because they've used 5 and 6 pitchers here against the Cardinals. If that kind of pace continues, because the Cubs are playing 19 of 20 days, that's going to be a very tired bullpen. So this becomes a doubly important start for Kyle Farnsworth,
who has pitched well, however, is a guy that uses a lot of pitches to get through his 5, 6, or 7 innings of major league work. Cardinals have taken the field. Here's a peek at the Cubs starting lineup today. The Cubs have dropped 3 in a row and line up this way for Don Baylor. Just one significant change, and it's at the bottom of the order. First at the top, Young, Gutierrez, and Sosa. Top 3, Mark Grace, Henry Rodriguez, and Shane Andrews, the middle of the order. Jeff Reed gets his first start for the Cubs. That drops Damon Buford to 8th in the batting order. Kyle Farnsworth pitches and bats ninth against one of the surprises for the Cardinals in spring training, the former Philly right-hander Garrett Stevenson, who pitched well in the Grapefruit League schedule.
There's a look at Stevenson, who, despite the fact that he is a big man, really doesn't throw all that hard. He's had some periodic arm problems during the course of his career. Right now he uses a changeup. He'll throw a big, slow breaking ball, and the fastball probably tops out at 90 miles an hour, 89, probably pitches comfortably in the high 80s. So we'll take a look at the GM Cardinal defense, and it's a little different than it's been in the series. Langford, Edmonds, and J.D. Drew in the lineup for the first time as a starter. Tatis, Polanco, Vina, and our first look at Big Mac at first base. Mike Matheny doing what he did the first 2 nights, starting the ballgame, which is somewhat of a surprise, and Garrett Stevenson on the hill.
Yeah, Mike Matheny must be wondering what in the world's going on. I played just 57 games in the Toronto system last year, and I've played 3 in a row here in St. Louis. But he has played very well. As you see, our umpiring crew, Julius, Chuck Merriweather will call the balls and strikes. Greg Gibson, Steve Ripley, and Tim Sheeta work the bases at Busch. Eric Young strides to the batter's box. We're set to go. Cubs need a win. And today, a gorgeous day for baseball in St. Louis, and a strike call to Eric Young. A modest 3-game hitting streak for Young, who's batting .250 for the Cubs on the year. No homers or RBIs. And there's that big curveball, but it stays up, and the count evens 1-1.
Eric thought that first pitch was a little high. Chuck Merriweather thought it was good enough, so now you know the parameters of his strike zone.
Stevenson, a big guy, 6'5", 208 pounds, out of Tacoma Park, Maryland. Came over from the Phillies in the Rod Gant, Jeff Brantley trade back in 1998. Last year with the Redbirds, won 6 of 9 decisions and had a terrific second half. This man had the best earned run average in baseball in the month of August, a 136 earned run average. And the Cardinals have him slotted in the middle of their rotation for now, but once Matt Morris comes back, it'll be a battle in the lower portion of the Cardinal rotation for one of those coveted 5 spots. EY smacks it toward Vigna. One hop, one out.
Routine play by Fernando Vigna, who gives him a lot of range at second base. Stevenson's a big guy, 6'5", 210 pounds, and did come to St. Louis to the big leagues last year. Spent some of the year at Memphis and Arkansas, but was 6-3 with the Redbirds with a 4.22 ERA. He worked 6 times out of the pen and got 12 starts. Like most guys, he's a little more comfortable as a starting pitcher because he needs 3 or 4 pitches to get you out consistently.
Ricky Gutierrez digs in, smacks the first pitch. That's the wrong place to hit it, guys. 2 down. 2 up, 2 down. Encouraging start for Stevenson to get those ground ball outs.
And exactly what you want to have happen in the first inning has happened to Stevenson. The Cubs swinging relatively early in the count, putting the ball in play, keeping his pitches to a minimum. And we saw Pat Hankin last night. Through 5 innings, had 66 pitches. Did pretty well. At the same point, John Lieber had thrown 100, and usually that means a long night for the pen.
So here's Sammy. 2 for 15 to start the year, and 0 for his last 12. 0 for 8 in this series. Has yet to hit the ball out of the infield. He was busy studying the videotapes with the Cubs hitting guru Jeff Pentland before the game. And the one comment that folks have made is that it looks like Sammy is farther away from the plate than perhaps he's ever been. Don't know if he's able to cover that outside corner, and that's where they'll pitch him here. 2-1.
Chuck Mayweather is calling high strikes. He called one to Eric Young. He just called one to Sammy. And so the hitters who have to be observant on the bench, especially early, because they don't know anything about Chuck Merriweather, they got to figure out where that strike zone is and what's the top of it.
Popped out of play, 2-2. Well, it looks like the umpires, at least from what we've seen this year, are certainly not calling the rule book strike, but they are trying to call that higher strike more consistently, which we didn't see called consistently all of last year.
In years past, when you threw it anywhere above the belt, it was always a ball.
2-2. Struck him out. 1, 2, 3, and out go the Cubs. First, Stevenson continues his impressive work, and now Kyle Farnsworth will try to match him out for out as we head to the bottom of the first. Cubs fail to score in the top of the first, and here come the Cardinals for their skipper Tony La Russa. And it's a terrific lineup, well balanced, 4 left-hand hitters among the starters today. It starts with Fernando Vigna at the top. Placido Polanco bats second. Then Ray Langford and Mark McGuire. Mac making his first start of the year. Jim Edmonds killed us yesterday, is in center field. Fernando Tatis at third. J.D. Drew gets a start in right today. Mike Matheny's played all 3 games of the series behind the plate. Garrett Stevenson pitches, bats ninth against a man who will try to stop the modest 3-game losing streak, right-hander Kyle Farnsworth.
Talking with Oscar Acosta about Farnsworth, he said that they're working on that changeup, getting him aware of consistently changing speeds. He does have a terrific fastball, but as you see, he doesn't strike out a lot of hitters because he's essentially been a 1-speed pitcher. He's trying to refine that good slider that he throws. And another factor, Oscar Acosta was trying to impress upon Kyle Farnsworth, you have to pitch inside because it's going to make you a lot better pitcher when you do go away from the hitters. Kyle had a tendency last year to just go away, stay out there, and eventually they look for the ball out there and take it in the gap.
Cubs have to pinch at the corners as Vigna a threat to bunt, and Farnsworth's afternoon begins outside the strike zone. Farnsworth has great stuff. No one disputes that. He's still learning how to pitch at the major league level, which is never easy. And the one problem he had in Tokyo was he fell behind a lot of hitters and was in high pitch count at bats most of the evening in Japan.
Well, this is going to be a much more productive lineup than the New York Mets, so he can't afford to fall behind today because these guys can bury you in the middle. When you look at Langford, McGuire, Edmonds, and Tatis, it doesn't get much better than that for 4 guys in the middle of your lineup.
And I love the left-right Army lineup that Tony La Russa has working today. Vigna High throw from Gutierrez. Grace saves him in air.
Well, if Vini had hustled down the line, he would have. And there's an example for all you youngsters watching. When you've got a chance, especially on a ground ball to the left side, and you have the speed that Vini has, just hustle down the line. He would have been safe because the throw pulls Mark Grace off the bag. Ricky's got plenty of time, does not make a good throw, and watch Gracie. He's well off the bag, but Vina just kind of loping down there, taking the out for granted. Probably will be spoken to by Tony La Russa.
Very simply, just run it out. That's all you have to say, and that's all you have to do.
Usually you have to do it 4 times a game, and out of the 4 at bats, maybe hit 2 ground balls.
So here's Placido Polanco, 0 for 2 on the young season. Last year, hit .277 for the Cardinals in 88 games. He was one of many who played second base here in St. Louis. Toward third. Let's see if Shane can make a good throw. That's been a problem for him. That one came to the inside of the first base bag. And Grace already has been very busy over at first, but there are 2 quick outs.
Let's take a look at the GM Cubs defense. And it reads like this. Rodriguez, Buford, and Sosa left to right. Andrews, Gutierrez, Eric Young, and Mark Grace in the infield. Jeff Reed behind the plate, and Kyle Farnsworth on the hill. Reed has been around a long time. This is his 16th season. And as you can see, he's a pretty good fielder. And when you swing the bat from the left side, and you can catch it and throw it and block it, you will have a job in the major leagues, because we talk about the scarcity of pitching. There is a real scarcity of catching.
So here's Ray Langford, 2 up, 2 down. And Langford takes a good live fastball. Langford now the number 4 Cardinal on their all-time franchise home run list. He passed Sonny Jim Bottomley the other day by hitting his 182nd in a Cardinal uniform.
Well, I talked to Langford and I said, you know, last night you waited back on the off-speed pitches. You didn't do that last year. He said, last year I had a sore knee and I couldn't push off, so I had to start the head of the bat earlier, and now I'm entirely healthy.
How about Kyle Farnsworth? 3 quick ground ball outs in the first. He matches Stevenson in that first inning and looks very sharp. He could use it. So could the Cubs. Good start in St. Louis. Scoreless after 1. Here we go to the second inning. Scoreless in St. Louis. Mark Grace set to go, and he has killed Stevenson in his big league career. Grace 4 out of 9 against the Cardinal right-hander.
Well, Gracie probably goes up there looking for something off speed like that big slow curve, because he knows that Stevenson really can't throw hard enough to throw it by him. And I tried to get in last night. We saw Pat Hankin try to cut his fastball into the hands of Mark Grace. Turned into a double and a run batted in.
And almost a home run. He sent a shot deep down the right field line that hooked foul. But Grace off to a good start with a bat. 385, a homer. And he's driven home 2. And he yanks that one just foul past first. Again, the Cardinals tempting fate.
Well, that looked like a Tony Gwynn type swing. Mark Grace just got on top of a high pitch and just missed hitting it right down the line. I would look away here.
He did, and he sprays that in our dugout. Hit it the other way, Gracie. Everybody seems to be all right. And speaking of Tony Gwynn, apparently he's okay too. That's good news for the Padres.
Well, he said he thought he could play in the game today. That might be a little ambitious, but they're just happy it's not broken.
Again, he was hit on the elbow on opening day in New York, and there was thoughts that there might have been a chip fracture in the elbow, but apparently that is not the case. Padres play the Mets later on this evening. Cubs have yet to get the ball out of the infield as Gracie's retired. 4 out number 1.
Well, this is a time for Henry to start breaking out of it. I'm sure that watching his swings of the past few games, Jeff Pentland has made a suggestion or 2. Henry looks to be out in front of just about everything. He did wait back on the left-hander yesterday, and facing Jesse Orozco took the ball through the right side. That was a promising sign. But they're going to need his bat if the Cubs are going to make a real strong run.
And Henry takes upstairs. A couple of other games are in progress now. The Giants have taken a quick 1-0 lead against Florida. Russ Davis has hit a solo home run. It's going to be a pretty interesting pickup for San Francisco. Not if Davis can hit, because you know he can do that, but if he can catch the ball. 2 balls and a strike to Henry.
Well, if he can't catch the ball, it's going to be a fairly porous infield. Really, it doesn't have great range. Kent is an offensive second baseman.
Henry pops that one out of play left side.
Because you have a magician at first and JT Snow. And he makes a lot of low throws look like good plays because he can dig them out.
That's why Seattle let Davis go. He had more errors than home runs at third base.
It's usually a problem.
That's not real good. 2-2 to Henry. Off speed pitch hit him. Henry tried to dodge out of the way and it pops him. And he'll head to first. The Cubs have been hit now 3 times in the last 2 games and 4 times in the series.
Well, Henry got grazed with this one. I'm not sure if it really did hit him. It looked like it went away from him. But Henry backs away. Chuck Merriweather said it caught a piece of the uniform. And that is a non-painful way to get a hit batsman. And Henry's aboard.
For Shane Andrews, who along with Mark Grace has been one of our best hitters in the early going. Shane at 308, a homer. He's driven in 3. Stevenson will work off the stretch now for the first time.
Well, this is a guy that absolutely cannot afford to fall behind because his stuff is not like Darryl Kyle's. Not even really like Pat Henkin, who did a good job. But Garrison's stuff is marginal, and he's got to pitch ahead in the count consistently. If you keep setting up offensive at-bats, you're going to be in trouble.
That's what's happened to our bullpen. And Andrews cranks that ball deep toward left, and look at Langford admire it. Just shy of Big Mac land and left. Shane Andrews pummels that pitch, and the Cubs have a 2-0 lead. Fall behind, pay the price, and the Cubs glad it happened.
Andrews continues his hot hitting. His second home run. He's driven in 5. More importantly, the Cubs have a 2-0 lead. And Shane Andrews hit the daylights out of that one. That was a monumental blast. We'll take another look at it. This fastball right down the middle, just below the belt. And Shane, who is terrifically strong, admires this one because he knows it's gone when it left the bat.
So his second home run. He's driven home 5. The Cubs lead by 2 for Jeff Reed. And you're right about Stevenson. As good a spring as he had, and as well as he's pitched in a Cardinal uniform, fall behind with his stuff, you're asking for problems.
What a great example, Chip. Hideki Irabu had a magnificent spring for Montreal. He started that game against the Dodgers, and they just wailed on him. The season is completely different. Like most of these guys turn on the switch, and your stats in spring training don't matter much.
And Reed down on 3 pitches. Razor sharp control from Stevenson. A nice rally for him. And Jeff has a seat. Now 2 down in the second.
If you're going to hit 8th, your job is to get on any way you can. And if that means bunting the ball, then you bunt the ball. You want to bring Kyle Farnsworth to bat this inning so you can at least lead off with Eric Young next inning.
Damon Buford in the number 8 spot this afternoon.
I don't know if Damon does this, but a great bunt is up the right side. Let's see how good Mac's back is. But forget it.
Fernando Vina's glove has been terrific. We test him for the 3rd time, and he's flawless. Cubs get a 2-run homer from Shane Andrews, his 2nd of the year, and it was a no-doubter after 1.5. It's Cubs 2, Cardinals nothing, and Big Mac set to lead off. Go for the first time in the year 2000 is the man of the hour. As you see our score, Kyle Farnsworth, a big right-hander, has to face the biggest right-hander for the Cardinals, Big Mac. Mark McGwire for St. Louis.
Kyle had pretty good movement on his fastball in that first inning. He had the Cardinals pounding the ball into the dirt. McGwire, like most strictly home run hitters, hits most everything in the air. It's rare when you see him ground the ball, but the Cubs putting the shift on, inviting Big Mac to go to right field if he wants to. Eric Young is on the third base side of second, and Mark Grace well wide of the bag at first.
Cardinal fans see the shift, and we'll see what Farnsey does here. And McGwire backs away from a good live fastball, 1-0. Good to see Farnsworth pitching inside For if McGuire extends those arms, he can hit it to Belleville. An incredible year for McGuire again. 65 homers, 147 runs batted in. Even more incredible, Steve, are the walk totals that McGuire racked up last year. He was able to do all that damage despite walking 133 times.
Well, he's always had a very good eye. And unlike many home run hitters, if he doesn't get his pitch, he's not going to be swinging.
That's what he's done in 27 games against the Cubs. And now he takes a walk, for he has expanded his strike zone on those last two swings. Those appear to be down and away from him.
Looked like pretty good sliders, and Farnsworth threw him in a good spot. Big Mac just happy to be back in the lineup after his back spasms. He said he didn't have anything like it the last couple of years. But everything just kind of seized up on him, he said. Went right to the hospital.
2-2 is high. 3-2. Big Mac land in the upper deck in left field. Pretty well represented today.
Good time to throw that slider low and away.
But he missed with it. McGuire working the count as he always does. Walks for the first time here in the year 2000.
Jim Edmonds was all over the papers today. Had a big night last night. He did exactly what the Cardinals got him for, and that is chase everything down in center field. He's a Gold Glove caliber center fielder, and he hit the ball exceptionally well. A home run and a double. He drove in 3 and walked twice while scoring twice. That's a pretty busy night.
So Farnsworth has to work out of the stretch for the first time in the ball game today, and he does face Edmonds. And he looks outside at a ball. Fox Sports Net would like to welcome its affiliate FNB Cable and their viewers in Wheatland, Illinois, to Bush Memorial Stadium in St. Louis. Hard to believe, Steve, with all the wonderful changes they have made to this stadium. They've converted it from a multi-purpose stadium to a baseball park, and they've done about as good a job as you can possibly do, in my opinion. There's talk in St. Louis about a new baseball stadium downtown. 1-2 the count.
It's called Double Road. Very expensive skyboxes. Their payroll is up there over $60 million. And you start thinking of revenues when you talk about new stadiums and what they can generate.
1-2, and Edmonds fouls it away. Don't know the name of the proposed ballpark. I do know the Cardinals would be unveiling their plans for it here in St. Louis on Saturday. It would be built, if it's built at all, right across the street, and it would blend in like many of the other retro ballparks with its own individual and unique touch with the architecture of downtown St. Louis, as they are trying to revitalize the downtown area and avoid the suburban flight. The 1-2. Edmonds goes down on strikes. Farnsworth took something off and has his first strikeout of today's game.
Well, that looked like the Kyle Farnsworth changeup, and that's been a great pitch for him. Watch this one again. This one kind of dies away from Edmonds. It's a great changeup, and the thing that made it great was not only terrific location, but good arm velocity and what's called a circle change, which you actually throw with the last 3 fingers of your pitching hand and your thumb and first finger in a circle. That's what kills the velocity when you can keep the same arm speed.
Fernando Tatis is the hitter, and he looks inside. Is the rumor true? Is it harder for a hard-throwing pitcher to throw softer than to add a couple of miles per hour on the fastball?
Well, I'm not sure if you can add. I think velocity is pretty much a God-given talent. Depends on how fast you can rotate that shoulder.
Or to reach back and give it that giddy up when you need it. My point is,
well,
the changeup is
right. You're talking about making a finesse pitcher out of a power pitcher.
Right.
And Farnsworth, I think, can do both. And to be successful, he's going to have to do both, because he just can't stand out there. Even though that fastball's at 95, he just can't keep throwing it.
Down and in to Tatis. 2 balls and a strike.
One of the reasons, Chip, is you want to change speeds is you like to have guys hitting off-speed pitches early in the count when they're not looking for it. And you get a 1-2, even a 3 pitch at bat, you're going to be stronger as we head into the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings.
There's a rocket down the left field line, but Tatis Hooked it badly, and the count evens at 2-2. Well, John Lieber can take a few notes on the approach to Edmonds. That changeup, the off-speed pitch to counterbalance the left-hand power, has been a real problem for John. Kyle is taking care of Vigna, took care of Langford, and he got Edmonds on strikes. That'll make a big difference in today's game if he can continue to do that. 2-2. And now it's full 3-2. See if the Cardinals.
I think it would be an upset if Mac's running here.
Move him, yeah. If that bad back, it would be a real risk.
And Mark Grace can afford to get behind him.
He's not going, and the pitch chopped toward third. Andrews bobbles it. Might still have time to get McGuire. Yes, he does. And there's out number 2. If Shane handles that cleanly, would have had to have been a crisp double play for Tatis can really run, but we get the sure thing. No error. You can't assume the twin killing. And Tatis trades places with McGuire.
Well, it looks like you're going to be out of the inning. But this ball hops up and disrupts the timing of the play. So now J.D. Drew gets a chance to hit where he'd have been leading off next inning. And you can't give good ball clubs 4 outs. That's what the Cubs have been doing in this series. But if you're scoring 7, 8 runs a game, the little things don't look as important. When you're not hitting, then every little thing is of critical importance.
Cubs lead by a pair. Drew represents the potential tying run. He's got plenty of power. This young 24-year-old left-hand hitting outfielder hit 13 homers last year for St. Louis. Didn't hit for the high average that they thought he would, and now is in a platoon for the most part with Eric Davis and Wright, but certainly he's got a very bright future.
Well, I talked to Tony La Russa and I said, is there any way this guy can't be a star? And he said he has everything that you need to be a star in the major leagues. And the question is, will he develop into that kind of player?
Tatis was leaning, and Farnsworth just missed picking him off.
You know, the Cardinals let all of baseball with stolen bases in the spring. Most managers don't like to run that much because they don't want to take a chance of guys getting hurt. But Tony La Russa had his Cardinals on the run, and they're going to run throughout this year.
Downstairs, you don't want to say they were a station-to-station team last year. They did steal 134 bases. But with Vigna, with Renteria, with Drew,
and Tatis is a very good base runner
as well. When the home run balls aren't coming, they can create runs like the old running Redbirds in the 80s if they want to. Maybe not as well as McGee and Coleman, Herr, and Jack Clark, but certainly more than 134 steals should be in the offing for the Cardinals.
Let's see if Tony La Russa turns loose J.D. Drew. You got Mike Matheny in the on-deck circle now. He's not that great of a hitter. In fact, lifetime .230 average, although he's hit very well in this series. But I'd turn him loose in this situation.
He took the 3-0 pitch, and it's now 3-1.
Well, now's a good time for Kyle Farnsworth. Go to first base, because you just might catch Tatis leaning, and you might have a chance to pick him off.
Pretty good lead over there by Tatis. Not going, and it's ball 4 outside. 2 walks in the game and inning for Farnsworth. Tying runs aboard for St. Louis, and now we have to face hot-hitting Mike Matheny, who started the year at a very brisk .429 batting average.
We thought we would see Eli Marrero behind the plate today because of the quick turnaround, but Mike Matheny still on pace to play 162.
Cubs have walked 13 Cardinals in this series. And if Mike Matheny plays all 162, he is going to ask for a vacation clause in his contract. Line drive looped into right. Sammy will play it on a hop. Tatis rounds third. They're going to send it. The throw is not in time. And now heading towards second is Matheny as the ball pops away from Jeff Reed. It's a 2-1 game. The walks killing us. Another 2-out run-scoring hit for the Cardinals, and it's a 2-1 game with men at second and third for the Cardinal pitcher.
Matheny drives in his second run, and Sammy's got a shot. But Tatis, with good wheels, beats the play by an eyelash and will isolate on Fernando Tatis, who does have very good speed. Watch the turn. It's a pretty good one. Now he sees that Sammy's going to make it close and just accelerates, and they cut the lead in half.
And not turning the double play is the biggest play of this inning.
Talked about the 4 outs, and if you do it against a good team, they will come back and bite you.
Andrews and Grace in a step at the corners with the pitcher up, and Farnsworth working off the wind, falls behind the Cardinal pitcher. 2-1 game in the St. Louis second. 2 walks. A misplayed double play. But Farnsworth a chance to escape the mess if he can take care of what you would expect to be a light hitting pitcher, Garrett Stevenson.
Well, if Cal goes to that slider, Jeff Reed's going to have to block it if he keeps it down and throws a good one. Drew's got very good speed at third.
And Stevenson, a lifetime 2 for 27 major league hitter.
Well, he's not going to hit the slider. He missed that one by 3 feet.
Whatever we threw Rick Ankiel, he didn't miss last night. He smoked that ball.
He hit that ball as just about as hard as you can hit it and stay in the ballpark.
Just missed. 2-2. And they're going to charge an error on Jeff Reed, allowing Matheny to take second on the throw from Sammy Sosa in right field. So the Cubs guilty of another defensive miscue in the inning. One is scored on error, one wasn't, and could not be. Count runs full to the pitcher, and this has been Kyle's calling card. You don't want to face Vigna with the bases loaded.
Especially when you have a pitcher that's 2 for 27. Then, you know, Cal's trying to throw it right down the middle. But now you'd think he'd just go to the fastball and say, here, hit it.
3-2. Weak swing. Stevenson is retired, and Farnsworth escapes the second inning. But the 4th out given to the Cardinals results in their first run. After 2, Cubs lead cut in half. It's 2-1 in St. Louis. All right, Cubs fans, plenty of good seats are still available for games throughout the 2000 season. And Wrigley Field's a great place to spend your summer, so mark your calendars now. For group or season tickets, call 773-404-CUBS. For individual tickets, stop by the box office at beautiful Wrigley Field. Call Ticketmaster or dial 312-831-CUBS. We're back home Monday to face the defending National League champion Atlanta Braves at beautiful Wrigley Field. And always opening day at Wrigley is a special time. But you might want to break out your warm weather gear if you've packed it away. For the forecast, we understand, is cold, cold, cold.
And of course, it never rains on opening day, so we have no problems with that.
That's right. It's against major league rules as Farnsworth leads it off and hits a fly ball into center that Jim Edmonds tracks down. 1 up, 1 down in the Cub third. After today's game, we jet off to Cincinnati and face Ken Griffey Jr. and the Cincinnati Reds, who are off to a bit of a slow start. Then we're home to face the Atlanta Braves.
Always a pretty tough challenge, and this year they've got a little more speed in that lineup.
Rafael
and they got
for Cal,
and they have the big cat back and hitting home runs again.
Is that
Andres
has to be the great story in the first 4 days of the year is Andres Galarraga's hit a couple of home runs. He looks absolutely tremendous, and really for that Atlanta organization, Steve, that's something they desperately needed from a baseball standpoint and from a public relations standpoint. They don't have to listen to the John Rocker stuff, at least until he comes back, and that'll be another 12-13 days or so.
Well, it is a great story, and it's one of the best, battling back from cancer and seemingly losing nothing at all because he's played great defense and he's hit the ball out of the park.
And he's not exactly a youngster anymore.
No.
But just tremendous. You talked to Don Baylor about Andres Galarraga, who is the man instrumental in turning him around here in St. Louis. And Don really gets kind of a mischievous gleam in his eye when he talks about Andres Galarraga. Of course, had him in Colorado. It's almost like he's a second son to him.
Well, you're right about what he did for Andres, because he was a hitting instructor here in St. Louis when Galarraga got to St. Louis, and Galarraga had really struggled in the previous 2 years with Montreal. He lost his stroke, lost his confidence. Don Baylor helped him retool, opened him up a little wider, made him look straight at the pitcher with both eyes always, and Galarraga rejuvenated what was until that point, a pretty good career. It's turned into a great career. He's got some pretty good numbers, and he's always been a terrific first baseman.
Eric Young with a 1-out walk. Let's see if the Cubs put him into motion with Ricky Gutierrez up there. Ricky grounded out to Vina his first time up, and thus is 0 for 1. Braves host Colorado later on today. Speaking of them, Atlanta got the game-winning homer from the Big Cat yesterday to beat the Rockies. EY has our lone stolen base on the year. Gutierrez has a lifetime homer against Stevenson. And lifetime 3 for 9 against the Cardinal right-hander. 2 balls and a strike. Count tilting toward Ricky's favor here.
Well, now if you want to use the hit and run, it's a good time to use it. Stevenson doesn't have the best move to first base. I think Eric has looked at him. I think he's figured out what he's trying to do.
And we saw this situation in the first inning of game 1. The Cubs did not use the hit and run. It was Ricky's first at bat of the year, and Don Baylor didn't want to take the bat out of his hands. Let's see what he's got in mind in this situation. 1 on, 1 out. Young, good lead, not going, and it's a breaking ball for a strike. Back to first. Crowd still filing in here in St. Louis. Had 38,000 or so here last evening. About the same amount today. That misses away. Young runs. The pitch chopped through the whole left side for a base hit. EY Deeks now goes to third, and he's out by a mile. Gutierrez to second. He just did beat the wrap.
I don't know what Eric was doing because he's looking right at Langford. You know, it was the knee that Langford hurt last year, not his throwing shoulder. And he throws him out by 30 feet.
No one even close.
Well, we'll isolate on Eric Young, who's made a couple of questionable base running mistakes. He tries to give him the old limp leg and accelerate, but Langford, just looking at the play all the way, throws a strike. And Eric is out by plenty. Fortunately, Ricky Gutierrez was hustling on the play. He gets into second just ahead of this throw, but
well, and I know Eric's going to say, look, I'm trying to make something happen. That's all fine and good, but what he is making happen is he's running himself into easy outs.
Plus you have the 60 homer man that keeps coming up.
So instead of first and second, 1 out, there's a runner at second with 2 outs. And Sosa for his last 13 standing in. If that ball's hit to right field, you can see maybe taking a chance, but not to Langford, who was charging in on the play anyway. The 0-1 ties him up. Look away now, Sammy. Count evens. Add a ball and a strike.
If I'm Stevenson, I go right back inside.
Do you?
Just for what you're saying. Hitters look at patterns too, and basically Stevenson wants to stay away. I would try to jam him, throw it in under his hands.
They set up away. It came away, and Sammy loops it into center field right at Edmonds, and the inning is over. Some questionable base running by the Cubs in the third costs us a chance perhaps to score. We settle for a 2-1 game after 2.5. Boy, the Cubs are not playing crisp baseball right now. We do have a 2-1 lead as we head to the third. Top of the Cardinal order greets Farnsworth, and that's Fernando Vina. It's easy to sit up here and second guess and say what if, but This team right now, the way they're playing, they can't afford to run themselves into unnecessary outs, and they can't afford to not make plays that they have to make, especially against a team like the Cardinals that's off to such a good start. Vina off Grace's glove. The flip by Young, not nearly in time, and he's got lightning speed.
Right. Kyle has to get over there because whether Mark Grace catches it or not, it's going to be a tough play. Vina's flying down the line, and watch Farnsworth. He looks at it, he breaks, but then he doesn't quite, you see him just loping there. He thinks, I don't know who's going to cover, but there's nobody even close to the bag. Farnsworth started off okay, then kind of stopped and went very slowly to first base. Vina beat the play.
Maybe the ball was popped in the air. Maybe he thought Gracie was going to catch it. I don't know, but that's the first drill you work on in spring training as a pitcher, isn't it? Ball hit to the right side, get to that bag.
Every time. Get there real quickly, and the worst that can happen is someone else makes the play.
Instead, the worst thing that could happen for the Cubs defense is their spark plug is on. Vina with a bunt single leading off the third. This is the aspect of the St. Louis game that everybody in baseball is very nervously looking at. How much will Tony La Russa run? How successful will they be? And if they are doing both, how fearsome their offense will end up being. Polanco smacks it toward the hole and under Ricky Gutierrez. Now Vina wisely stops at second. 2 on, nobody out. And the table is set for the meat of the order.
Well, the Cub infield is going to play more toward the middle this year than perhaps in years past. It's burned him a couple times in this series, as this one has hit it straightaway shortstop, and Gutierrez can't get to it. Normally that's a routine double play ground ball, but they've decided that you be closer to the bag on both the steal and covering second base, and so they pinch the middle more than not.
We'll see if it pinches us in this third inning. 2 on, none away for Langford, who grounded to second his first time up. Boy, if you are a hitter in the middle of this order, you're licking your chops for the rest of the schedule.
You've got a lot of run producing opportunities.
Ball 1 high. And as a Cub fan, you hate to give the Cardinals any kind of credit, but boy, they deserve it. This is a fearsome looking team if their pitching comes around. A ball and a strike to Langford.
Well, they've got the 3 guys at the top. Garrett Stevenson for the time being is their number 5 starter, but they're getting back a number 1 caliber starter in Morris,
who Tony La Russa said is just throwing the daylights out of the ball.
Matt Morris was terrific when he came into this league, and no reason to assume he won't be equally as good, and that's awfully good.
Well, I asked Tony as Langford swings and misses, is this team better than the one he took to the NLCS the first year here in St. Louis? He said, looking at the starting lineup 1 through 9, yeah. He said the starting rotation's not as settled because they had Bennis, they had Stottlemyre, they had Donovan Osborne, who was pitching great. He said, but if the guys we have now settled in, they're going to be terrific. The only question is the pen. They had Eckersley, remember, at the finish earlier in St. Louis. Now it's Dave Veers, and the middle guys have to settle in. But that's a refrain heard in every major league ballpark these days.
Well, very few teams have abundant quality 1 through 11, and most teams' soft spot is the middle of that bullpen, and that's where the starters come in. Take the game into the 7th, and you don't have to worry about long relief.
2-2, and Langford goes down on strikes. So a big first out for Farnsworth, and maybe he can induce McGuire to do something he doesn't do often. That is hit the ball on the ground, and we can turn 2 and get out of this jam.
This is a little lower than Kyle wanted it. You saw the high target by Reed, but Kyle throws a fastball right by Ray Langford. And now there was a meeting in the infield, just exactly what they want to do. They can't shift as severely as they shifted before because Matt came up with nobody on. Now you got 2 men on, so Eric Young is going to play pretty straight away at second, but he's on the first base side of the second base bag.
McGuire, who walked 133 times last year, walked in his first at bat this year, and has a chance to drive home his first run of the campaign Coming off a year when he was the National League RBI champion at 147. First Cardinal to lead in that category since Joe Torre did it in 1971.
I had a hand in that. Pitched to Joe that year. He knocked in a few.
Well, people forget what kind of a hitter he was. Great manager.
Well, he hit 360 one year. That's pretty good hitter.
Man. I still think of the greatest line he ever uttered, though. One day Joe hitting 4 double plays. First the 2-0 pitch to McGuire. Swing and a miss on the breaking ball. Joe always has a very good sense of humor. Knew exactly the right thing to say at the right time. And he said after the game, after hitting into 4 twin killings, he said, I couldn't have done it without Felix Millan, who was the man on in front of him each and every time he bounced out.
Joe had a lot of skills. One of them was not running.
2-1. Right over the outside corner. McGuire not too sure.
Taking another look at it. Reed wants it away. Farnsworth throws it. Looked a touch low, but Jeff Reed framed it nicely, and Cubs get the benefit of a very big call.
2-2 now to McGuire, and it's full. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Farnsworth's fastball, Stoney, really looks to be moving. You saw in that 2-2 pitch to McGuire how quickly it broke back toward the plate. And now he's got to come into McGuire with left-hand hitting Jim Edmonds on deck. 3-2, 2 on. The runners go, and the pitch outside. Ball 4. They're loaded. McGuire's walked twice.
And Tony La Russa wanting to stay out of the double play, even though McGuire does strike out a lot and he hits a lot of pop-ups and fly balls. He rolled the dice, ran with his runners, and got the base on balls. So they're loaded up. The man who did most of the damage last night.
And that's Jim Edmonds, who struck out on what appeared to be a changeup.
Could use another one right here.
Ags full of Cardinals. 2-1 Cub lead in jeopardy in the 3rd. Ball 1. This has been Farnsworth's mode of operation. Second time through the lineup sometimes. He'll work a lot of high ball counts. He's walked 3 men in the game. He has struck out 3 men in the game. Ball 2. Wind getting a little bit more brisk, blowing in toward home plate, and it's cooled off quite noticeably. But the Cardinal bats are starting to heat up. Over the inside edge. 2 balls and a strike. Kyle needed that pitch. Now he's in some real trouble. 3 balls and a strike.
Edmonds has good but not great speed, and if you can get him to hit the ball on the ground, you can get out of this inning. Probably the biggest pitch of the game to this point is this 3-1 pitch to a guy who's swinging the bat pretty well right now, Jim Edmonds.
3 balls, 1 strike. Here it comes. Line drive, left center field, base hit. Pena scores. Polanco's going to score. McGuire will stop at second. Edmonds drives home 2 more, and the Cardinals have a 3-2 lead. You fall behind. That's what happens.
RBIs 4 and 5 for Edmonds. We're going to see, I believe, Oscar Acosta come out to talk with Farnsworth. The control not real sharp. This one is down. And credit Edmonds, a good piece of hitting. He goes down, drives it over the head of Ricky Gutierrez. And the Cardinals have the lead for the first time today.
So the game started very promisingly for the Cubs. A quick 2-0 lead on a Shane Andrews second inning homer. But the Cardinals have come roaring back here in this third inning. And they're not done yet. And again, you have to like the lineup. You don't get any breaks, obviously, with these hitters, but left, right is a big advantage for Tony La Russa. Here's Tatis. He reached on a force play when the Cubs couldn't turn the double play, and later scored on a Mike Matheny 2-out hit. Popped him up. Will it stay in play, though? Reed and Andrews give chase near our dugout, and they can't get there. And Tatis lives to swing again.
I thought for a moment that ball would drift back into the field of play, but unfortunately it was 3 or 4 feet away from Jeff Reed, and Tatis gets another life.
Think this guy could win an MVP award someday?
I do indeed. He has all the skills to do that.
1 ball, 1 strike. Jammed him, and that got the umpire. And when you look at Tatis, terrific defensive player, very strong arm, hits for average, hits for power, drives in big runs, has very good speed.
And strikes out a lot, which is something that Cal would like to take advantage of. He fanned 128 times last year. But he's going to steal a lot of bases and put up some pretty gaudy offensive power numbers.
1-2. They got Tatis from the Texas Rangers organization. It was highway robbery, folks.
Well, he wasn't the hitter you're looking at now. He was a line drive hitter. He used a lot of right center field. But last year he grew into his power and muscled up for 34 home runs.
Tatis taking his time as he contemplates a 2-2 pitch. Cub defense pawing around out there. It's been a long bottom of the third. Swung on, belted deep toward right. Sammy back at the track, at the wall, and opposite field. 3-run homer, and we can't get out of St. Louis fast enough.
Tatis gives him 5 driven in. Kyle Farnsworth is getting hurt away, and that's something that Oscar Acosta told him. If you don't establish inside, you're going to get hurt away. That shows you how strong Tatis is, because unlike last night, that wind is blowing in somewhat, and he took it right through the wind, opposite field. This fastball is belled high and out over the plate, and Tatis got a good piece of the bat on it.
Boy, he's strong, and he showed it. So a 6-2 Cardinal lead now, a 5-run third. And J.D. Drew has just followed it up. And Stoney, this is one of those days where Kyle's going to have to suck it up and take one for the team. Don Baylor can't go 5 deep in the bullpen today again.
No, because you have to go 3 with Cincinnati without an off day. And so nobody's even been up in the bullpen, but I think that's probably going to change now. You'd like to get 6 innings out of Kyle today if you could. J.D. Drew takes what appeared to be a slider and hits the daylights out of it. Back-to-back home runs. Drew starting his first game, and he does indeed look to be headed for stardom.
Well, we know the Cardinals can score with 2 outs. They can really score with 1 out. 6 times in the third, and Farnsworth is rattled in the Cubs pen. Starts to get busy. I think that's Danny Young. 7-2 St. Louis. Well, we said at the start of the year we were going to find out just where we stood in relation to the rest of the division. Hopefully this is not a sign of things to come. A high drive by Matheny. That swung on deep left field. Henry's at the track, and the Cardinals have homered back to back to back.
The way Mike Matheny is playing, Eli Marrero's not going to catch anytime soon. Matheny is 2 for 2 with 2 runs batted in. And it's an 8-2 lead as Farnsworth is shell-shocked here in the 3rd inning.
Same pitch right down the middle.
I'm going to predict that Stevenson will not hit a home run.
If he does, we got real problems. A 7-run 3rd inning. A home run cut, and he hit the bottom half of the ball.
Not a happy place to be right about now.
Man, oh man, oh man, let's get out of this place. Let's come back and win it first, though. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, the Cardinals have convinced me this is a much more potent lineup than I believe they've had in many a year.
Man. It's full, 3-2. It all started with Vina reaching on the bunt single. Polanco followed with a hit. Langford struck out. A walk to McGuire. Edmonds, a 2-run scoring hit. And Tatis drew Matheny homer. And now a strikeout to the pitcher is out number 2.
All of this started with a bunt. And it started 9 hitters ago. Fernando Vina bunted his way on. And things got a lot worse from there.
So Vina bats for the 2nd time in this 3rd inning. Two and oh. Two and one. Well, this season they were used to seeing 7s get put up on the scoreboard pretty quickly. Rams, of course, the defending Super Bowl champions. And they are talking in St. Louis about all 3 of their major sports teams maybe winning titles. The Blues have clinched home ice throughout the playoffs with the league's best record. Cardinals looking sharp. The Rams, of course, already have won the Super Bowl. Cardinals bat around. 7 runs, 6 hits. Tatis, Drew, Matheny go back to back to back with bombs. And Mark Grace leads off the 4th inning. The Cubs shell-shocked in St. Louis, down 8-2 now. St. Louis with a 7 spot in the 3rd. And we played for a moment with only 3 umpires out on the field. Steve Ripley was a little bit late getting back from the umpire's room. So Grace set to go here. He bounced back to the mound his first time up. Game's in progress. Giants still lead Florida 1-0 on a Russ Davis homer. That game is in the 4th inning now. Houston and the Pirates scoreless in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Lima time is back for the Astros. He won his debut yesterday.
Well, let's hope that Ken Griffey Jr., who's 0 for 10, breaks out of it today and doesn't have an 0 for 14 or 15 when the Cubs come to town tomorrow. They have a game tonight against those very pesky Milwaukee Brewers, who are 2-0.
That has surprised some people. The Brewers have pitched well enough to win the first 2 for Davey Lopes. So congratulations to him in his rookie season as the Brewers skipper. And we wish our pals Jose Hernandez and Tyler Houston luck as they play for Milwaukee this year. Edmonds broke back, now charges in, and Grace retired for out number 1. Tyler had a home run yesterday in that game for Milwaukee. 1 up, 1 down here in the Cubs' 4th. Well, you don't have to have great stuff to pitch for this Cardinals staff. Just say to the hitters, go out and get me 7 or 8 and I'll hold them right there.
They're going to score a lot of runs, and again, one of the key components is missing today, and that's Edgar Renteria, their fine shortstop.
Seems like Tony's picking the right guy to sit out of the lineup every day. Here's Henry, hit by a pitch his first time up. He scored on the Shane Andrews homer. That gave the Cubs a brief 2-0 lead. Oh, and 2 quickly.
They're pitching Henry upstairs, which is the way a lot of national teams go at him.
Downstairs, 1 and 2. I'm kind of bummed out today, Stoney.
And why would that be?
My mechanical pencil from the new Otani Hotel in Tokyo has given its life in the 5th game of the year. Henry down on strikes.
Well, had you had a little foresight, you would have bought a couple more mechanical pencils.
Well, I've got a backup.
Oh, okay. Pretty good breaking ball, by the way, by Garrett Stevenson.
And here's a look at our Aflac trivia question. The National League Central expected to be Homer Central, and the question today is, since divisional play, which trio of players have combined for the most home runs in their shared division?
Bagwell, McGuire, and Sosa.
Well, you're a perfect 2 for 2, and you have been very quick with your responses. I think you might be right.
I don't know, but it seems like that would be a pretty good guess.
A chopper toward third. Tatis spears it, flips across, 1, 2, 3 and out. Go the Cubs in the 4th. Polanco, Langford, and Big Mac come a calling for the Redbirds in the bottom of the 4th. Impartial credit. We should give you credit for that. You got more of the names than you missed. We'll give you partial credit. You're 2.5 out of 3. And here's Danny Young. Hopefully he'll be an innings eater today. That Cub bullpen has been used a lot in the early going. Kyle Farnsworth knocked out of the game. 3 innings, 7 hits, 8 runs earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and 3 long Cardinal home runs. And the problem for Young has been a simple one.
Get the ball over the plate. He gets the first 2 outs and has some problems, but he threw a good inning last night. He's one of the guys that came out of the pen that did a pretty nice job. And you're right, Chip. He's out there, obviously, to hold him close, but Don Baylor needs some innings out of Danny Young right now. He would take 3 and be very happy if he could get it.
But a minefield awaits him here in this 4th with Polanco, Langford, and Mark McGuire. 2, 2 and 1 for the Cubs. 8, 7 and 0 for St. Louis. The Cubs have given up 8 home runs to the Cardinals in this series. And we still have 5.5 innings of baseball
ways
play
to go. And that's even more damaging when you consider McGuire didn't play the first 2 games and doesn't have any of the home runs.
Polanco backs away. Well, Young, one of the nice stories in baseball, a guy that's been in the minor leagues a long time, getting a chance. 9 years riding the buses, taking those late night commercial flights. Gutierrez, a good play to his left, takes care of Polanco, 1 down. You always like to see guys like that make it to the big leagues and hopefully stay.
Well, as a left-hander, if he shows he can get the ball over the plate, he will stay. Because he's got a good arm, the velocity is there. Everything looks pretty crisp. So challenge some hitters, and as a left-hander, you'll probably stay around for a while.
The only muscle that he needs to work on is that confidence muscle. Here's Langford, and Ray takes a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Danny Young's 28 years old, out of Smyrna, Tennessee. Came over from the Pirates in the Rule 5 draft. And Langford slaps it into right field in front of Sammy, who is playing him very, very deep. Wouldn't have gotten to that ball on the fly anyway. And Langford has his first hit of the day. But Danny Young, another big problem he's had is he's been hurt. Left shoulder soreness, left groin strain, bruised right heel, left elbow surgery, all of that in 1997. Left elbow surgery shelved him in 1998 and had a sprained left ankle last year, a strained rib cage muscle last year. But his minor league ERA last couple years pretty good. The key has been health for him, and now McGuire takes aim at the left-handed Danny Young.
That was a very good pitch by Danny. Kept that low and away from McGuire, who hasn't seen a whole lot to hit today. He's been up twice, he's walked twice, and he scored on the opposite field Fernando Tatis home run.
And it's starting to feel like spring in St. Louis again. It's gotten very chilly. The 0-1. Mack held up.
That's one thing that McGuire does particularly well. It sounds like a little thing, but he checks his swing despite the fact that he swings awfully hard. Not a lot of guys can do that. It helps McGuire with all of those walks, well in excess of 100 each and every season.
Surprisingly, he didn't hit left-handers as well as he did right-handers last year for the Cardinals. .254 batting average against left-handers. In 122 at-bats, .286 with nearly 400 at-bats against right-handers.
Well, that's the reason he faced so many more. Get used to seeing him.
And I would imagine that the bulk of his walks, though, came against those left-handed pitchers, keeping the ball away from him. 2 balls and a strike instead of first, where Langford camps out for the Cardinals. Milwaukee will come to St. Louis next. And with the problems they're expected to have with their pitching staff, the Cardinals might be an odds-on guess to put up some more big crooked numbers in the next series. Good stop by Reed, saved a base there. 3-1 to McGuire now, who has walked twice and scored once.
Well, the fans starting to boo, but there's no way Danny Young wants to lay it into Mark McGuire. He has put himself in a precarious position, however, having to make a great hitter's pitch on 3-1. That's the sinker away.
3-1. It never sunk, but it was away. Big Mac has walked 3 times. And now Young has him first and second with the left-hander Edmonds in the box. Edmonds struck out on a changeup against Farnsworth and then smacked a pitch over the shortstop's head for a 2-run scoring single back in the 3rd run Cardinal onslaught. Ball 1. Blowing in. Another sea of red in St. Louis. 38,000 or so, we're guessing, at the ballpark today. And Young's control continues to escape him.
certainly don't want to load him up. A man coming up who homered his last time up, and that's Fernando Tatis in the on-deck circle. And the bullpen starts to work very quickly.
That's Brian Williams out there. 3-0. In for a strike. I think Tony would have green lighted Edmonds had it down the middle, but he took it. Now faces another advantageous pitch. The 3-1 now. Oh, good cut. But he popped it back. It's full now, 3-2.
Well, Young had Edmonds well out in front of that one. So a pretty good pitch.
Well, we got good news on the internet today, Stoney.
And that was?
Well, first the 3-2 pitch after Edmonds hits him a double play. Give you a fine forecast for Monday. Well, he won't have a chance. That was over his head. Ball 4. Bases are loaded. The forecast, we understand from our pal Tom Skilling, Monday. High of 64, partly cloudy, and a low of 41. We'll take it right now.
Let's take a look at one of the reasons why the Cubs are trailing by 6. Tatis with a 3-run first. Then J.D. Drew with a bomb, and then unlikely Mike Matheny hits one out. Back-to-back-to-back jacks.
So no place to put Tatis. Remember, he's the same guy that hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning last year against
Chan Ho Park and the Dodgers. But what was amazing is that a pitcher would have an opportunity to give up 2 grand slams in the same inning. And Don Baylor doesn't want to see any more from Danny Young. He cannot get the ball over the plate. Don Baylor believes that he still has a shot in this one. You have to believe that. It's only the 4th inning. So he's going to go to the pen.
And I would imagine by going to the umpire, he might be contemplating a double switch with the pitcher spot due up third. He doesn't want to have to burn another pitcher. But then again, he might let Williams hit for himself. Let's see what Don has in mind. Young will depart. And yes, we will have a double switch. Roosevelt Brown's going to come in for a slumping Henry Rodriguez. Brown will bat 9th in the Cub order, and Williams will bat in the 5th spot behind Mark Grace. So once again, Don Baylor has to go to the pen. Danny Young's control problems continue in the major leagues. Bases again full of Cardinals. A 1-ball, no strike count to Fernando Tatis, and Brian Williams answers our Primeco call to the pen. Well, Brian Williams in his big league career has not been known as being a pinpoint control artist. He's going to need it in this situation. Bases loaded for the Cardinals, only 1 out. They already lead us 8-2, and it's only the 4th inning.
And last night Williams came on for a third of an inning, gave up a couple runs on 1 hit and a walk. So the entire bullpen has been very busy. Brian Williams among them, on for the 4th time. ERA well up there. He's going to face a man with the ball out of the park last inning.
A 3-run homer for Tatis, his first of the year. And that's a man in search of answers. And that man hoping, praying that this is just a bad dream. On the first week of the regular season, the Cubs in danger of being swept by our hated rivals, the Cardinals. No matter what you think, it ain't jet lag, folks. That's taken away too much credit from St. Louis. They are playing very, very well, and we aren't.
Well, we told you when this series started that St. Louis was going to be a vastly improved offensive club. They added balance, they added power, they added speed. They did everything to their lineup. Their 8-man everyday lineup is very solid top to bottom. The real question mark was middle relief, but if the starters give you 6 or 7, middle relief doesn't usually matter all that much.
And that's why for the Cubs, the return of Ishmael Valdez and Kerry Wood cannot come soon enough, for they will be, assuming they're right, bullpen savers.
Well, they're both throwing in Arizona right now. After a simulated game that's happening today, Terry probably will be sent to Daytona, work out in the warm weather.
2-0 to Tatis, and now it's 3-0.
And then Valdez is throwing a simulated game, so he should be in pretty good shape. And they can't come back too soon, because the Cubs desperately need both of those guys at the top of their game. Right now they could use a strike.
Langford at third, McGuire at second, Edmonds at first.
I don't mean a player strike. Although,
let's not talk about that. Ball 4, another walk, another run is in. Tatis, look at him, he doesn't want to go. And the ball gets away from Williams, but it's ball 4. The Cardinal runners will advance. And that makes it 9-2.
Just another unbatted in for Fernando Tatis, who apparently either liked what he saw from Brian Williams or just forgot the count. Those 4 straight bad ones, what's he on first?
And I thought we left the walks in Japan, but we've brought them back with us. Unfortunately, 6 more today by the Cubs pitching staff.
Take a look at Tatis. Now he takes ball 4 and he says, you know what? I feel pretty good up here today. I think I'm going to stick around a little longer. Chuck Merriweather says, no, you got to take first anyway. Take a run batted in and be happy.
Between Matheny and Tatis, they're trying to rewrite the rule book in this series. Here's Drew, and the breaking ball dances over for a strike. Drew has walked. He's homered. He scored, driven in 1. 9-2. One and one. I know you've got valley fever, but how's your arm feeling?
I don't think I want to go down there and face these boys in the red uniforms anytime soon. They're pretty tough. You know, Chip, they stole 130 some bases last year. This isn't going to be a team that's going to steal 250 bases, but it is a team that's going to use their speed, both offensively and defensively. And they have speed up and down in the lineup.
And Williams can't throw it anywhere close. Well, you hope it's going to bottom out and then start to rebound.
Like a NASDAQ?
Let's not talk about that either.
Well, you're taking all the subjects out of the way.
3 and 1. Rolled foul, 3 and 2. I'm just glad I didn't follow all of your stock tips.
You're not kidding. You'd have to work another 50 years. You'd be like your grandfather.
Well, I don't mind that, but I don't know if I could take all the bad advice. 3 and 2, 1 out. High drive. How far is that one going to go? It's a grand slam for Drew. We surrender, folks. It's 13-2.
When you get to the point, Chip, when you know a fastball is coming but the pitcher is struggling with his control, you can just sit on it and take it wherever it's pitched. This ball was out away from Drew. He hits his second home run in 3 at-bats. The first he walked. J.D. Drew getting his first start of the year as homer to left, he's homer to right, and he shows you why Tony La Russa thinks he's a superstar in the making. It's a fastball, it's up and down the middle, and Drew just takes it out over the left field wall.
9th home run the Cubs have allowed in the series, the 4th today, the 2nd by Drew. And Williams still can't throw a strike. They want a curtain call from Drew. Line down the left field line. That's in for a hit. Matheny has singled. He's homered. He's doubled. Brown gets it back in a hurry. He needs a triple for the cycle.
Just bear in mind, Chip, that's their defensive catcher. He's hitting over 500 this year.
The crowd not booing.
They're drooing.
They're drooing. But they ought to be booing our bullpen because these guys are really pitching poorly. First career grand slam for J.D. Drew. And here is Stevenson, who is the happiest man in the ballpark. He's got an 11-run cushion. Williams has not retired a hitter he's faced out of the pen yet. A walk, a slam, a double. And if you folks back in Chicago are shell-shocked, so are we. I don't think any of us expected this kind of a start. We knew we were going to run into a freight train in St. Louis and Cincinnati against Atlanta. But I don't think any of us expected that the Cubs would play this magnificently badly.
There is a proliferation of 2-homer games early in the season, and J.D. Drew just did it. They still have an opportunity for a few more guys to do it.
Wow.
We have handled Garrett Stevenson well at bat.
He struck out twice.
5 runs batted in for J.D. Drew.
Strike 3 call. Stevenson's going to be around to have a chance for the Golden Sombrero. He's 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts.
Let's let him hit again right here.
Man, oh man. Danny Young, a third of an inning, a hit, 3 runs, 2 walks. But he didn't give up a home run on the positive side. And here's Vina. The Cardinals have sent 9 to the plate for the 2nd straight inning, and that one behind Vina, and the runner moves to third. And Vina looking out, took a step or 2 in front of the batter's box, wondering if Williams is sending a message. I don't know if Brian has enough control right now to throw it behind him if he wanted to.
Well, you don't want to get into a beanball war here. This one well behind Vina.
And that's a logical conclusion for Vina to make, especially the way the last 2 innings have gone. Well, we don't need to add any more base runners for the Cardinals in this game. 7 runs in the 3rd, 5 runs here in the 4th. Breaking ball right to Gracie. He'll surround it, and the inning mercifully comes to a close. 5 more Cardinal runs score. A J.D. Drew grand slam, a 5 RBI, 2-homer game for him. Yikes! It's all St. Louis again. Jeffrey leads things off here in the Cubs' 5th. Reed, Buford, and Brown. That against Garrett Stevenson, who has a 13-2 5th inning lead. Reed cranks it to right. Long run for Drew, and he makes it. 1 man down. Time to take a look at our Heineken game summary. Come to think of it,
not going to be too pretty, except Shane Andrews hit a monstrous home run, his 2nd in the 2nd inning. The Cardinals go back to back to back. Al Farnsworth did not have a good day, and J.D. Drew is having a career day. That pretty much sums it up. I remember a game that the Cubs played. Rick Russell leading 13-2. Came out of the ball game.
Buford toward left center field. Look at Edmonds. Got a great jump. The ball hit high in the air. He runs under it. 2 outs quickly in the 5th.
And the Philadelphia Phillies, known for wonderful comebacks, did indeed come back and beat the Cubs that day. And this ballpark is pretty lively, but the Cubs can't seem to get anything going against Garrett Stevenson. He might be a little looser out there now than early in the game, because he's just saying, here, hit it.
Yeah, if he walks anybody from here on out, it would be an upset. Cubs have a big, huge uphill battle to climb in this ball game. And then it's on to Cincinnati for the weekend. 2 balls, no strikes to Roosevelt Brown, who might be battling for a roster spot. Glenn Allen Hill will work out with the team in Cincinnati tomorrow, weather permitting. And if his hamstring is good enough to allow him to run the bases, the Cubs are expected to activate him in time for the game tomorrow night, or perhaps on Saturday, and that means someone will have to go. The Cubs are carrying Tariq Brock, Roosevelt Brown, and Julio Zuleta in the outfield. Tatis will handle that. It's very easy. 1, 2, 3, 5th for Garrett Stevenson. Well, the same man that's led off the last 2 innings is going to lead off the 5th. Placido Polanco for the Cardinals. All Cardinals again today at Busch Stadium. 13-2. They've out-homered us 9-1 in the series.
And if I'm Tony La Russa, I think I sit Mark McGwire. Let him get that back entirely healthy. And let's see, Mack hasn't had to do much today because he's walked 3 times as the Cubs didn't pitch to him.
And he's due up 3rd here in the 5th inning for St. Louis today. Well, Polanco, what a spark plug he's been, huh? He's been terrific for the Cardinal team today. He, like everybody else, has a base hit. 1 for 3, scored a run back in the 7-run 3rd inning. Polanco played in 88 games for the Redbirds last year. Should see some more time in backup duty this year, and he'll be out number 1 in the 5th. Here's Langford. McGwire is out on the on-deck circle for St. Louis. Langford also 1 for 3. McGwire and Stevenson are the only Cardinals in the opening lineup without hits today.
Big Mac hitting like Eddie Goodell today.
No, Eddie Goodell. I'm glad you brought that up.
You have a great Eddie Goodell story.
I don't know how great it is, but it's a true story. New ownership in the Cardinals, of course. Anheuser-Busch used to own the Cardinal franchise for so many years. One of their owners is Bill DeWitt. The DeWitt family, a long baseball tradition here in St. Louis. Their family owned the St. Louis Browns at one time. They owned them from 49 to 51 here in St. Louis when both the Cardinals and Browns played at Old Sportsman's Park. Well, Bill DeWitt was a bat boy for the Browns team. First, the 2-0 pitch to Langford. It was Bill DeWitt's uniform that Eddie Goodell wore in his one and only pinch hitting appearance with the St. Louis Browns on August 19th, 1951.
Didn't they put a different number on him, though?
I think it was
3/4 or half or something like that?
But a true story. Bill DeWitt, Eddie Goodell, Bill Veeck, of course. Baseball history for the lovable, laughable, and losingable St. Louis Browns.
Eddie Goodell later said that Bill Veeck told him one thing: if you swing the bat, I'm going to come down and shoot you.
I will kill you. That's right. 3 balls and a strike. Langford lashes it foul out of play. During World War II, of course, the Cardinals and Browns matched up in the only World Series meeting between the 2 teams. Here in St. Louis, Browns had old one-armed Pete Gray in the outfield. And the Cardinals won that World Series. Browns, of course, did not last here in St. Louis. They became the Baltimore Orioles. And Langford out on strikes. Good breaking ball from Williams. And he has his 2nd strikeout of the ball game. McGwire will hit. He's walked 3 times. But when Bill Veeck owned the Browns, he tried to move them to the West Coast in the 40s. In fact, I heard a story that the meeting to arrange that move was scheduled for a beautiful December Sunday. December 7th, 1941.
Picked the wrong day.
And of course, that visit never happened. History was forever changed. Baseball history forever changed too by the attack on Pearl Harbor, for it stopped the installation of lights at Wrigley Field.
And a lot of very good players went to war.
And many sadly never came back. 2 balls, no strikes to McGwire, who has walked 3 times, as we mentioned, has scored twice, and the natives want to see him swing the bat. One thing about this guy, his pursuit of individual excellence has never gotten in the way of what his team wants to accomplish. He said, and always will say, that too much attention has been placed upon what he does and what the team hasn't done.
Well, when you hit 70 home runs for a bad
It's a little
ball
tough.
club,
That's
things like that are going to happen.
That's
you have
certainly
to accept
understandable.
that burden.
Had a wicked cut and he pops it up. And Gracie should handle this, and the Cubs will have their first 1-2-3 inning since the first inning of play. Top of the order coming, a calling for the Cubs in the 6th. It's 13-2. Well, top of the order coming up for the Cubs now. Eric Young leads things off. He's 0 for 1 with a walk, and Garrett Stevenson fires a quick strike in on the first pitch, and now a breaking ball in, and he's quickly ahead 0-2. Young, Gutierrez, and then Sosa. Mark McGwire is out of the ball game. A high hopper over the middle. Vina, gloves, guns.
That was a very good play by Vina. It looked routine, but you have to charge that ball. You don't know if the hop's going to flatten out or come up to you. And Vina, knowing that Young has great speed, played that ball very aggressively. He's looked most impressive on the defensive side this series. And as we speculated, Big Mac out, Craig Paquette in at first base. And watch it again. Scoops it up on the run, makes a good solid throw to get it.
Ricky Gutierrez takes a strike. Ricky 1 for 2 today. Vina, many say, Stoney, turns the double play better than anybody else in the National League.
Well, you'd have to show me a time with Brett Boone, but he can turn it well.
Tatis, bare hands, wide throw. Paquette caught it and held on. 9 in a row. Retired by Stevenson, and a lot of help from his D in this inning.
Paquette, as the throw was up the line, pulling him off the bag, he put the tag on Ricky. And the call by Greg Gibson. Bare hand pickup, that part of it's good. The throw off the target. And Greg Gibson says he got it.
That is a 5-tool ball player. Fernando Tatis. And here's Sammy. See if he can get untracked. He's 0 for his last 14, and it's popped back toward you, Stoney. And into the booth and out of the way he goes. Hold on, the baseball's at your feet here, pal. Check out the bruise.
I have it, yes. And it is an official Major League Baseball that I wanted no part of. Things have not gone particularly well this spring. I didn't want to add a broken hand to the collection.
I was going to say, valley fever, pneumonia, and a broken wrist would be
that'd be real
a
good.
bad start. So can I deposit this downstairs to one of the lucky fans?
Actually, you should, but make sure that they're looking at you before you plunk them.
Oh
on the
no,
head.
I'm going to pick out a Cardinal fan. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ah, yes, getting out of the way has always been one of your strong points when those foul balls come back.
My natural tendency is to flee.
I was very happy with myself. I didn't fall to the floor like I usually do.
Well, you stayed in your seat.
The breaking ball just missed.
Bullpen up and going once again for the Cubs. It's Felix Heredia. Garrett Stevenson has things well in hand, so they got 3 real good pitching performances.
There's the good breaking ball. Sammy says that's unhittable. He's right. Over the outside corner, and the Cubs down in order again in the 6th. Stevenson has retired at 10 in a row in St. Louis. Half of the 6th inning, Felix Heredia, a chance for him to get on track. The Cubs have made wholesale changes. Jeff Houston is into the game. He's playing second base for the Cubs. And Felix Heredia, the other change.
Heredia coming out for the 4th time. No record, 5.40 ERA. And there you look at the career numbers. He appeared in last night's game. Came on, walked 1. That man scored, and Felix got an earned run for his efforts. So once again, Don Baylor having to use the bullpen. He used 5 pitchers opening day here, 6 last night, and he's on his 4th today. And at this pace, you're going to burn out that pen, but Don has no other choice in the matter. You got to find somebody down there who can get consistent, get the ball over the plate, and get some people out.
So Heredia bats first in the Cubs lineup. And Houston bats fifth. Heredia's first offering to Eli Marrero. Pinch hitting for Jim Edmonds. It's just like a spring training game. And Marrero pops it back and out of play. Well, charity begins at home, right?
And there's a charitable Chip Carey making sure that a young fan gets this one. And finally, he deposited. He said to that fellow, make sure the youngster gets it. And that's exactly what he did.
And man, folks, that ball was screaming back. I mean, we can't overestimate how hard the foul ball came back to us.
I love on the wall right behind us, there is a pattern of a baseball, and you can see the stitches.
Marrero toward left center. Brown a good angle, puts it away with a gloved left hand. And there's out number 1 in the 6th inning. Cub fans, make sure you visit the Cubs internet site, www.cubs.com. It features live audio broadcasts of our Cub games, daily game notes, message boards, online access to Cub tickets and merchandise, player info, and much more. The website's available 24/7, 365 throughout the world. Remember, the Cubs site located www.cubs.com. We're trying to find a permanent marker so that we can initial Sammy Sosa the date and time of that particular foul ball. Back here. Had we a mitt, we would have taken a stab.
Yes, a couple of mitts would have been good.
But cowards that we are, we played it on the ricochet. Tatis squibs that off of his foot for strike 2.
I said to Tony La Russa before the game, I always ask you how you're doing. You tell me you let me know after the 9th inning. So I won't ask you about today because I'll get that same answer. But how do you like your team from the first 2 games? And he said, the lineup is doing just about what I thought. And he said, Vina is going to make a big difference in the number 1 spot.
Little looper over first is foul. Yeah, they've tried several guys for several years here in St. Louis trying to find a true leadoff guy. They tried Renteria last year. He has the tools to be a leadoff guy, but if you don't want to do it and you're not comfortable doing it, you're never going to be real successful at it.
Well, they really sought to address a lot of needs. It was not a good Cardinal team last year by any stretch of the imagination. And with the addition of Edmonds, they were able to substantially increase the offensive output. They certainly helped the starting rotation. They got 3 new starters, and they added a closer, Dave Veers. So Walt Jocketty, the general manager, was a very busy man. And on the surface, it appears that he's done a pretty good job. Ed Lynch also had a remake of this ball club. And quite obviously, you can't evaluate this team by what's happened in this series.
Yeah, I would say it's fair to say, as Tatis pops it up, the Cardinals have played about as well as they possibly can, and the Cubs have played about as poorly as they possibly can. Sosa takes care of Tatis, whose perfect day at the plate is spoiled there. And here's J.D. Drew, 2 for 2, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, including his first big league grand slam to left field. Pirates are no-hitting Houston right now. As that game at Three Rivers Stadium, 2-0 after 5 is the score.
It's not Cordova. Who is throwing today? It's not Schmidt.
It is Cordova.
It's Cordova. Benson had a tough night last night.
Against Chris Holt. To the right side, Grace gloves that. Another 1, 2, 3 innings, 2nd in a row, 3rd of the game. This one zipping right along. Now the Cubs look for some more. They've been retired 10 straight by the Cardinals and trail it by 11. For Kyle Farnsworth. So on we go to the top of the 7th inning. Mark Grace takes a strike, leading things off. Defensive changes for St. Louis. Eli Marrero stays in the game. He's playing first base now. Former catcher, current catcher. Paquette moves from first to right. Drew moves from right to center. Edmonds out of the game.
Well, Cal pitched a very good game, opening game. Pat Henkin was pretty impressive last night, and Garrett Stevenson is throwing the ball exceptionally well here today. So the game plan was to get some horses in the rotation that gave you big innings, and brought in the top 3 guys to give him 600+ innings. And Stevenson, who was here already but spent half the year in the minor leagues last year, doing probably the best job overall. He's limited the Cubs to just 2 hits. They haven't really hit the ball hard to this point.
Only 2 hits for the Cubs today, and just think, when they get Matt Morris back, they're going to have 6 or 7 candidates for that starting rotation, and all of a sudden somebody's going to have to go to the bullpen, and that'll help shore up that situation for the Cardinals. Grace lines. It's trapped by Vina. Thought he caught it, didn't. Recovers and threw out Grace.
Mark gave up on that one. Mark thought that he had caught it and didn't go as hard as he wanted to down the line. Steve Ripley gave him the safe sign. Vina thought he had it. Gracie thought he had it. The only one who didn't was Ripley. And this one fools Vina.
Fooled our cameraman too. Sinking knuckleball liner.
When he realizes that he's getting the safe sign, he fires to first and gets Gracie by a step. Now watch. See, right here he thinks he's out. We've seen that a couple times today. And that's something that no manager is going to be real happy with. You run until the umpire tells you you're out.
Ironically enough, it was Vina that was guilty of that earlier in the game today. So Jeff Hewson stands in now, batting for the first time today. Last Cub hit was a 2-out Gutierrez single in the 3rd. The Cubs have managed 14 hits in this series, and there's number 15, a squibber down the left field line that will go for extra bases. So Jeff Hewson aboard here in the 7th inning, and Shane Andrews will bat with 1 man out.
This was a seeing eye base hit right down the line. And we'll see Tim Sheeta, who was behind the plate last night, giving the emphatic fair call. And Houston hustling into second.
By the way, Cordova's threw 6 with that no-hitter against Houston. Pirates leading 2-0 at home. And everybody says the new PNC Park is coming along very, very nicely. They'll be in there next year, I believe, and it's supposed to be a beauty.
That, I'm sure, is going to help attendance because they're not drawing particularly well. Montreal's still having problems. Oakland, with that good young team, is drawing 10 or 12,000 for day games.
That's amazing to me.
Because that's an exciting bunch. They've got a terrific offense. Hudson, one of the best young pitchers in all of baseball. And Omar Olivares had a terrific game yesterday.
Minnesota, you expect them to have attendance problems. They are having them. Even Atlanta, as great a team as they have, they're not selling out on a regular basis, and that's a shame. For all the glory and success Atlanta has had, it is very much a what have you done for me lately town as far as every sport is concerned in that city. Boy, you put that team in Chicago, fans would go nuts. 1-2 to Shane.
Well, they'll be in Chicago. They'll be wearing the Braves unis, and there are seats available as Atlanta comes to town to provide the opposition for opening day.
Two balls, 2 strikes. He got him, and it's the 5th strikeout for the Cardinal right-hander. 2 outs, runner at second now, and it's Jeff Reed. Jeff has been caught looking and lined to right. Kansas City blowing out Toronto today. 9-1 at Skydome. And a much bigger crowd here in St. Louis today, by the way. 40,589 the paid National League attendance.
Well, they drew a very respectable 127,000 plus. And you bear in mind that it's a school night, a work night, and the second game of the season. and then you have a day game. I think the Cardinals drew pretty well in this series.
Milwaukee in town next for a series beginning tomorrow evening. We're off to Cincinnati. The other AL game, Tampa having all kinds of problems with Minnesota. The Twins leading 6-5. How about the Tampa bullpen yesterday? Leading 7-1 after 7. Minnesota scores 9 in the last 2 innings to win it on a walk-off Matt Lawton homer.
Sometimes things happen like that. One thing about the American League, though, with the designated hitter, you better have your offense in high gear, because more times than not, you're going to have to outscore the other boys, because there's some high-powered teams, and the DH does make a difference.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Reed, with Damon Buford waiting on deck. Other games in the American League later: Cleveland at Baltimore. White Sox still in Texas. They'll try to even their record at 2-2 tonight. And the Red Sox visit Seattle. Mariners had a little bit better time with Ramon Martinez than Pedro.
Nobody has a real good time facing Pedro. I haven't seen anybody yet go, oh, this is great, what a challenge. I get to face Pedro Martinez, who nobody hits in any situation.
It's just unfair, the kind of stuff he throws.
Been like that for a few years in both leagues, by the way. There is the pitch count.
Activity in the Cardinal pen as he closes in on 100.
Yeah, that's what Tony La Russa expected out of him today. If he could give him a quality 100 pitches, he would be very happy, and he's done exactly that.
Reed pulls it foul. I mean, Stevenson, and we've said it before, if you don't throw 100 miles an hour or 95 miles an hour, you have to know how to pitch.
Rick Maddox
pitched
pitches between 82 and 88 miles an hour. Strikes out his share of guys, doesn't walk anybody, works quickly, he's a great fielder.
I wonder if they're talking to each other.
Maybe they're describing the game to one another.
Reed, a little looper into shallow center. It'll drop for a hit. Houston's going to score without a throw, and the Cubs close to within 13-3. Well, she was blonde, you know.
I'll just leave that one.
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. I know it's tempting.
Address those cards and letters to Chip Carey. Care of Fox Television. And Jeff Reed drives in his 2nd run of the year, getting his first start. And the man's been around 16 years because he's a pretty decent catcher and swings the bat from the left side.
So Stephen Christopher back home in Florida. If you can learn how to switch hit, call a good game. The other one can be a left-handed relief pitcher. Dad will be very happy. 0-2 to Buford. 3 runs on 4 hits for the Cubs today.
Bullpen up and going one more time, and it's Mark Guthrie, I believe.
He's the only left-hander left down there. And Stevenson's starting to run out of gas, it would appear.
He's on fumes right now, and Tony La Russa just wants to get him through this inning if he can.
Deuces wild for Damon as the Cardinals skipper looks on. 2-2. Breaking ball popped him up. On the infield, who wants it? It'll be Polanco. And the inning is over. Cubs get 1 on 2 hits. They leave Jeff Reed stranded. 7th inning stretch time in St. Louis. A nice job for Garrett Stevenson. He struck out 5 and is in line to win his first of the year at Chicago.
Right now they're on a mission to win one, so let's hope they win one today. Griffey gets a hit or 2 so that they don't come in as a very hungry ball club when the Cubs come to town.
2 pitchers will make their big league debuts in that series. Rob Bell, a hard thrower, came over from the Atlanta organization, will pitch on Saturday. And Scott Downs, the young left-hander who impressed Don Baylor this spring, is slated to go on Sunday afternoon, getaway day in Cincinnati. So Bell and Downs are going to have to face Sosa and Griffey in their big league debuts. Certainly a knee buckling time for them. Mike Matheny leads things off for the Cardinals as Heredia gets ready for his second inning of work.
Matheny has had a huge series. All he's done is hit 600. He started every game and played all the way behind the plate.
Up the middle. Gutierrez unloads quickly. And there's one man down. So Eric Davis is going to come out and pinch hit for Garrett Stevenson, who did a fine job on the mound. And Eric Davis has had a fine series too. I asked Tony La Russa why he played Davis so much in the first 2 games of the series, and he said frankly Davis didn't get a whole lot of at-bats in the spring. He wanted to get him going early in the year and give him some confidence, and boy, it sure was rewarded with a terrific first 2 games here. He almost got plunked from Heredia.
Well, Eric hit a home run opening day and then came through with a big base hit last night. He comes into this one 2 for 6.
An amazing comeback story in Eric Davis. Think about all the players that have come back from cancer. Mike Lowell from the Florida Marlins, Eric Davis, Eli Marrero on this Cardinal team, Darren Jackson, our colleague with the Sox. High pop and out of play back toward us.
And for all of his problems also, Darryl Strawberry, another guy, along with Scott Radinsky, that battled back. So we've seen a lot of major leaguers stricken with a disease, quite obviously, that touches everybody.
Andres Galarraga, I'm sure
another one.
We're going to miss a few of them.
Eli Marrero.
So wonderful advances in medicine. Helping prolong a lot of baseball careers and lives too. But it is a different game when it comes to injuries now. What used to be a season or career threatening or ending injury, now you see guys coming back and playing 2 or 3 weeks later, which is remarkable. Davis down on strikes. 2 out in the 7th. Don't forget Subway sponsors our 7th inning stretch when we get back home. Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing that guy. The Gov, Jesse Ventura, the great governor of the state of Minnesota.
And you got to love Gary Sinise. He's a wonderful actor, a local guy, does a lot with Steppenwolf, the theater in Chicago. And I love his movies, so it'll be nice to see him.
I want to see Jesse body slam you. He probably
that's what I need right now. Good body slam.
Knock that stuff right out of those lungs,
that'd be
right?
good.
Here's Vina, 1 out of 4. We're going to have to ask the governor if he's going to run for president. A little chopper up the middle. Second hop. Gutierrez handles good strong throw. Felix looks sharp. He's retired all 6 men he has faced through 7 innings. Well, we got Cardinals running into the field of play all over the place in their excitement to get into the game.
It's one of the few things they did wrong was send Sean Dunston in when he wasn't supposed to. Let's take a look at our Dodge drives of the game, and it's the back-to-back home runs. Started off by Fernando Tatis, who goes opposite field. J.D. Drew hits his first of 2, and then the unlikeliest of all, Mike Matheny torments Kyle Farnsworth, and those are our Dodge drives of the game. So there's a look at Mike Moeller coming in for the first time. You can't have too many lefties in the pen. Tony La Russa likes to stack that pen with left-hand pitchers. And last year, Moeller here in St. Louis, 48 appearances, a 1-1 record, a 4.38 ERA with just 1 save.
Moeller bats 9th in the Cardinal order. Thomas Howard into left field for Ray Langford. And Roosevelt Brown will lead it off for the Cubs in the 8th inning. Dunston and Renteria, the only 2 Cardinal regulars that have not seen action today. Ball 1 misses downstairs to Brown, who popped out in his lone at bat in the 5th inning. And he might pop out again. unless that ball scampers into the seats, and it just did. Mike Moeller, 31 years old. This is his second season with the Cardinals. A little slapper to left. They'll test Howard early, and he's right there, one man down.
Well, in an effort to keep him sharp, it looks like Ricky Aguilera is going to come in and pitch the 8th inning. He's loosening up in the pen.
And Julio Zuleta will make his 2000 debut. There's Aguilera. There is big Julio Zuleta, his major league debut in St. Louis today. Boy, you meet this guy and it's like traveling with the NBA again. 6'5" is Zuleta.
He's got a whole lot of power. We saw it in spring. And let's hope he can carry it over into the season.
A native of Panama. I hope he can hit like his countryman Rod Carew did.
Well, I hope he hits with a little more power.
But 3,000 hits wouldn't be too shabby.
He could hit.
Big cut. 1 ball, 1 strike. That spring training game in Arizona when he hit the scoreboard twice in consecutive at-bats was real impressive. And Moeller turned that ball over, and it bounces up there and picked off the umpire. Heredia pitched well with the game out of hand. 2 innings, only 1 strikeout, no hits.
Well, he picked up a couple valuable innings.
Yeah, that was the key.
And for him, it was a good 2 innings because he got the ball over the plate.
The 2-1 to Zuleta is laced out of play. It's 2-2. There are some who wonder what Mark Grace's future will be at this season's end. He is a free agent. A chopper to the left side in the hole. Polanco for the first. Zuleta rounds out in his big league debut. If Grace departs, Zuleta could handle the first base chores, but there are many in the organization too who feel that whoever follows Grace, if he leaves or when Grace leaves, that the heir apparent there is Hee-Sop Choi.
Hee-Sop Choi is going to start this season in A ball, and for all of you on the Corey Patterson watch, he starts the season in Double-A at West Tennessee. So we've got some young players, some good young players on the horizon. I don't know, I got to make sure that that Lugnut roster is strong and talented.
You might want to head south and start cheering for those Daytona Cubbies.
Indeed.
However, since they're in my state, I do have proprietary rights. But for you, pal, anything. You can cheer for whomever you wish.
I just love the name. Good name for a minor league ball club.
2 balls and a strike to Gutierrez, who's 1 for 3 today. And it's off his thumbs, but strong enough to rip it up the middle for the 5th Cub hit of the day. A 2-hit day for Gutierrez. Good to see his bat starting to come to life a little bit. And now maybe Sammy will get on track here. He has not looked particularly sharp at the plate again today. He's 0 for his last 15, 2 for 18 to start the year, and he has struck out 2 more times this afternoon.
Moeller really is a soft tosser, so this should play right into Sammy's wheelhouse.
No homers for McGuire today.
What's a no-hitter doing in Pittsburgh?
Let's check the old National League scoreboard here. They're in the 7th. 1 out. 4-0 Pittsburgh. Houston still without a hit, and Ken Caminiti the batter. And right now, Stoney, Sammy's in one of those zones where anything that comes 60 feet 6 inches, he's swinging at it. And he does look a long way from home plate.
Probably going to get an off-speed pitch here, so let's see if he can wait back.
Jammed him. Right to short. Flip to second. Inning over. No runs, 1 hit. 1 man left. Hitless in the series, and the Cubs in danger of a sweep. Gorgeous day in St. Louis. Spring-like temperatures. And we really have been lucky with the weather here on the North American portion of our schedule. Julio Zuleta stays in the game for the Cubs, playing in left. Rosie Brown moves from left to right. And in desperate need of some work is Rick Aguilera, and he will tune up here in the bottom of the 8th inning against Polanco, Howard, and a batter to be named.
Well, closers will tell you that their biggest enemy is rust. They would just as soon be in there, whether it's an inning that doesn't mean anything or you're way ahead or way behind in non-save situations, but you have to get on the mound to keep that sharpness, and he was very sharp in Japan. So he's been out twice, 2 innings, 1 hit, that's it. And 3, and looked real good doing it.
So Polanco greets him. Placido Polanco 1 for 4 today. 13 runs for the Cardinals on 10 hits. The Cubs walked 6 more men in the game today. Four of them scored. We've given up 4 more home runs today. Out homered 9-1 in the series. Sammy today 0 for 4. Mark Grace 0 for 3. Henry 0 for 1. Those men combined 3 for 31 in the series. Popped back toward us. Again, the Cubs bullpen with 7 runs in 7 innings. Today, 5 runs in 4 innings against the Cardinals. And very simply, folks, when you don't pitch, you don't hit. You don't feel particularly well on the road, you're not going to win or look too good.
Especially playing a team as deep as these Cardinals, because this is maybe the most improved team in the league.
By the way, Francisco Cordova has thrown 90 pitches through 7, and he just went through Caminiti and Alou to keep the no-hitter intact in Pittsburgh.
So you're Gene Lamont. You let him go all the way?
2-2, a base hit.
Was that a yes, a no, or what?
Yeah, I let him go.
Just keep letting him go.
Sure. He just went through the heart of the order, so why not? He's not a Chrysler Cordova, for crying out loud.
This is where Billy Spires breaks it up.
In the 8th.
I don't even know if he's coming to bat.
I'm not going
or
to tell
if he's
you.
playing. He would seem the logical candidate. Thomas Howard getting his first at bat of the day. And first at bat of this very young season.
Another valuable weapon for the Cardinals, a guy that can switch hit. 2 players in 1 offensively. Here's Howard. To the right side. Grace is going to try to get the lead runner, and he did. Good play by Grace. 3-6 the force out. Howard reaches with 1 away. And here is Craig Paquette. Don't forget, friends, you always have a chance to see the Cubs clubhouse. Our press box up above beautiful Wrigley Field. You can go in the dugout and see much more as the Cubs present exclusive tours of Wrigley Field. Enjoy a walk through baseball's most beautiful ballpark. Tickets cost only $10. It's a donation to Cubs Care. And tours start throughout the summer starting May 27th. For tickets, call 312-888-8255. 8-3-1 Cubs. So from Big Mac to Little Mac, Craig Paquette. It's been 17 years since the Cardinals won the World Series. 18 years is their longest drought between World Championships. Boy, they've got it tough.
It's been some very successful times for these Cardinals.
And there are all those World Championships. Did he go? He did not. 1926, 31, 42, 34, the Gas House Gang. We told you about 44, the 64 comeback Cardinals, which shocked the world. 1967, when they beat the Red Sox. And the last, of course, with Whitey Herzog in 1982. Two balls, two strikes to Craig Paquette. Ooh, that just missed. Aggie thought it was good enough. So now it runs full 3-2. That ball popped high in the air into straightaway center. Two men down. And now Marrero will bat for the second time. He flied out to left. Who did you say was going to break up the no-hitter?
Billy Spires.
All right, I'll be kind and tell you if he's in the lineup or not today. He is. He's batting number 2 in the order.
They've already gone by him.
Alou made the last out, so it'll be Ward, Molesky, Bogar. A pinch hitter, Cedeno. Spires could be the 27th man. Popped back straight away. 0-1 the count. That would be one of the earliest opening days in history if he got it today for the Pirates. Can't remember if anybody's thrown an opening day.
I thought Bob Feller threw an opening day.
Bob Feller might have. That would be something for the Pirates. But they still have 6 outs to get, and they have to do it to the Astros. Marrero got hit, and the umpire got hit on the ricochet, and Chuck Merriweather is smarting.
Well, that one hit Merriweather harder than it hit Marrero.
The ricochet. Right below the equator.
Those umpires are tough guys. Our old friend Sean Dunston getting an opportunity to pinch hit.
So Renteria, the lone Redbird, still sitting in his roost. Dunston for Tatis here in the 8th. 13-3 Cardinals. Cubs led it 2-0, then 2-1. Cardinals got 12 runs combined in the 3rd and 4th. And Aggie misses with a ball high. Away. It's 2-0. Well, Stoney, I know you feel the same way. It's always a treat when you come to St. Louis and have a chance to say hello to the legendary Hall of Fame voice of the St. Louis Cardinals. The one and only Jack Buck, who looks just terrific these days.
He's got a new restaurant, J. Buck's, out in Clayton. It's doing very well. Don Baylor was there one night. Said he really enjoyed it, thought the food was terrific.
Foul tipped away, what Jack Brickhouse was to so many people in Chicago for so many years. Jack Buck the same here in St. Louis and the Midwest, as his tones beamed across the clear channel airwaves of their flagship KMOX here in St. Louis. Jack, of course, joined by former Cardinal outfielder Mike Shannon on the radio. Jack's son Joe, of course, one of my colleagues at Fox, also handling some radio and TV work here in St. Louis. Good folks all, and we look forward to seeing them when our paths cross again. Dunston 2-2 now, and our paths will cross again in August. We won't see him in Wrigley until August.
That's not a real bad thing. You got to look at Joe Buck and Mike Shannon.
Two balls, two strikes. Good stop by Reed. Aggie runs the count full with J.D. Drew on deck. Pirates pouring it on now in the seventh. They lead 6-0 over Houston. The Astros are going to miss Mike Hampton, but they welcome back Moises Alou.
Richard Hidalgo.
Hidalgo will help certainly. Dotel and Cedeno aren't too shabby either.
Well, Sean Dunston and Ricky Aguilera are playing who can take the longest to complete this inning. Sean steps out, Rick steps off. Rick steps off, Sean steps out.
Payoff. Runners go. Swing and a miss. Dunston retired on strikes, and Aguilera tunes up with a scoreless eighth inning. Mark Grace will lead it off for the Cubs. It's 13-3 St. Louis. Sportsnet Chicago is Bob Albrecht. Our director is Dave Turner. The associate producer, Joe Corneo. Our production manager, Moheen Ramsey. And the executive producer is Dan Lafferty. Ninth inning rolls around. More changes for the Cardinals. Sean Dunston becomes the third right fielder for St. Louis. Paquette moves from right to third. Mike Matheny moves out from behind the plate, becomes the fourth first baseman. And Eli Marrero will catch. It's always good to have interchangeable parts, right?
It's a lot of movement, and they do have a lot of flexibility. And perhaps lost in everything else is the fact that the Cardinals have not made an error in the series. And this is also a much improved defensive team.
Grace swings at the first ball and pops it to Polanco at short. So Grace 0-for-4 today. Sammy went 0-for-12 in the series. Grace 2-for-11.
I think at this point our boys are just going to be very happy to get out of St. Louis and take it out on the Reds in Cincinnati. Hopefully the weatherman will cooperate down there.
And Henry was 1-for-9. So those three men 3-for-32 in the series. That's quite obviously a huge part as to why the Cubs played so poorly here. The Cubs in the series 8 runs on 17 hits. The Cardinals 28 runs, 33 hits, and 9 home runs.
Well, they did it with the bottom part of the order. Drew and Matheny hitting 7 and 8. Combined 3 home runs, 5 hits overall.
Houston again sprays the ball toward left and into the seats. And count 2-2. He squibbed a double right inside the bag fair down the left field line. His only time up there. Houston comes to plate now. with the Cordova no-hitter still being worked on in the 8th inning, and Houston down on strikes. So one more out to get for the Cardinals, and they will have swept us out of town. A look at our Hyundai player of the game, a career day for a young man out of Florida State.
Not only a grand slam, but another homer to go with it. And our Hyundai player of the game is J.D. Drew, getting his first start of the year and certainly making the most of it. And it won't be long before this man starts the majority of the game against all the right-hand pitching.
Blowing away ball 1 to Andrews, our final hope. Shane today got the game going offensively in real good shape. After Henry Rodriguez was hit by a pitch, he rifled a 2-run homer deep into the seats in left. Hits and homers and runs, few and far between today for the Cubs and all week long here in St. Louis. High pop and back toward us, and the no-hitter is over. Mitch Molesky with a double, 1 out in the 8th inning for the Houston Astros.
They're trailing 6-0, however, so things going pretty well for the Pirates.
Now we're down to our final strike. A 2-2 pitch. Fisted into right field for a base hit. Shane Andrews continuing his good work and trying to hit it to right every now and then. Does so here with 2 outs.
Andrews has 2 of the 6 Cub hits. And he keeps it alive.
And that brings Jeff Reed to the dish. 6 hits for the Cubs in today's game. 18th hit of the series. Cubs were last swept in a 3-game set in St. Louis. August 7th, 8th, and 9th of 1998 here at Busch Stadium. And we're 2 strikes away from having it happen here in the year 2000. Giants leading the Marlins 4-2 in the 8th. Houston has scored a run now, so the shutout gone too. It's 6-1 in favor of the Pirates. As Francisco Cordova loses his no-hit bid with 1 out in the 8th inning. He's going to be a big man for them this year.
He's a pretty good pitcher. He had a habit of kind of running out of gas in the later innings. He's got terrific stuff. He's got a great sinker, a good slider, and normally very good control.
Finals in the American League. Kansas City beats Toronto 9-3. Tampa over Minnesota 7-6. And now a 2-out walk to Reed brings Damon Buford. Damon 0 for 3 today. Popped out twice, flat out once. And he looks at a ball low. Andrew Lorraine against Pete Harnish tomorrow night in Cincinnati. We'll have it for you here on Fox Sports Net Chicago. We'll be in the game room at 5:30 Chicago time. First pitch 6:05 or so. Then Saturday afternoon, Kevin Tapani and Rob Bell tangle. Bell will make his big league debut. Then Sunday afternoon, the major league debut of left-hander Scott Downs. He'll face left-hander Denny Nagel, and then it's home for the Braves and Marlins. Again, we're down to our last strike in the game. 1-2 the count. Good stop. Well, thought it was a good stop. It popped away from Marrero. He turned his head. Stayed in front for a moment, then spun away. It's a wild pitch. Runners move to second and third, so a base hit means a pair of runs for Buford and the Cubs here.
Moeller having so much fun, he doesn't want this series to end.
Well, he's the only one, believe me.
Marrero can't block it, and the runners move up.
With a name like Moeller, he'd expect him to have a enjoyment for a game that's like a long visit to the dentist. Now it's full 3-2. To the left side. Polanco backhand throws it across. Cardinals sweep us away. 13-3 today in favor of the Cardinals. The Cubs struggles. Really exposed in this ball game. Cardinals out hit us 11-6. Outscore us in the series 28-8. Out homer us 9-1. And we can't get out of town quick enough, but it doesn't get any easier for tomorrow. The angry Cincinnati Reds will greet us at Synergy Field.
Well, this is a series that you'd just like to forget because the Cubs really didn't do any facet of the game particularly well. You have those series. Again, you never evaluate a club on the way they look in any given series. The Cardinals did just about everything right. The Cubs, on the other hand, did just about everything wrong. Things will get better. And this team wants to get into Cincinnati and take it out on the Reds. And we'll be flying there after this game.
That sounds like a real good plan. Cubs, Gale and Dave fall to 1-4 on the year. The losing streak to open the year now 4. Cardinals a perfect 3-0. And they are really a very impressive looking ball club. A team that underwent a lot of changes. And those changes certainly looking like the right ones. Let's send it back to you in Chicago.